Welcome to the End Zone. Ruben Juarez here, joined by our guest this week, the head coach over at Rowe High School, a first-year head coach at Rowe, Coach Jamaar Taylor. Coach, thanks a lot for hanging out with us here for a half hour talking Rowe football. First off, I want to ask, it's a new era in Rowe football, and I noticed there's an update to the logo.
Yeah, we got a little update. You know, we're facing the Indian the other way. The chief is facing the other way. We're facing forward. You know, it's a new era for Rowe football.
And in this first year with Rowe, you guys are off to a 4-2 start, 3-0 in district play. What has been the key to your guys' solid start in district play so far for 2025?
I think it started when we first got here. I mean, it's been 7 months, and we haven't had a day off. You know, the kids have bought in, the community has bought in, the parents have bought in. And, you know, this is the culmination of all that hard work. Obviously, you know, we have those 2 losses, but they're against 2 really, really good teams, 2 undefeated teams, coached by, you know, some guys that have been doing it for a long while. So, no, that the difference has been, you know, it's just buy-in. The kids have bought in, the community's bought into something new.
And I know when we talked to you in the summer, when Sam Rabatier went out there to do a story on you, you talked about stressing defense. You knew offense would be all right, but you stressed defense in the district opener. You held a Palmview to only 7 points, and it kind of went from there. You guys have gotten off to a good start in district play. Defensively, just how have you liked how your players have played so far this year?
Aggressive. You know, I love defense because that's where aggression starts in football. It's a tough game. It's a violent game, you know, but, you know, defense is where that starts, and they really set the tone for us. And a lot of our senior leadership is on defense, and I did see that, you know, the first couple of weeks I was here, so I wanted to play off that. And so defense has been a big focal point for me and our team, and it gives it, that's our identity of toughness. It comes from the defensive side of the ball and special teams.
Up next for you guys, a matchup with the always powerful Vela Sabercats. They're also undefeated. Excuse me. They've gotten off to a good start this season. They had to slip up against Edinburgh, but they've done well in district so far. This matchup, how excited are you guys to try to, you know, take on the king of the ring, so to speak, and have a chance to knock them off?
No, it's always great to play good opponents. I mean, it teaches you so much about your football team. You know, win or lose, you're going to learn so much about yourself. You know, obviously we hope we come out with the win, but we're really focusing on, you know, breaking the game down into little components as opposed to looking at the whole. If you look at a team that's perennially strong like Vela, it can be overwhelming if you look at the entirety of it. But if we break the game down into little pieces and we try to win those pieces, and then at the end of the game have, you know, 3 of the 5 keys that we're looking at won, then we have a great chance to come out on top.
Like you guys, they also have a pretty stout defense. As you look at this matchup for your offense, they've kind of held some strong offensive teams like McAllen, and they've kind of shut them down this season. What's going to be key for you guys offensively to be able to move the ball and try to get some points on the board against this strong defense over at Vela?
I think you want to stay in the positive. You know, you want to stay in the positive in the run and pass game. You want to minimize mental errors. That's a big thing for us. We want to minimize mental errors. That's keeping the offense, you know, with high school kids, they're 16 and 17-year-olds. You don't want to put a whole lot on them. You want them to be comfortable out there and know where they're going, right or left, you know, and who they're blocking. That's going to be the key for us. And then obviously hold on to the football. You want to hold on to the football. I think both teams do a tremendous job of creating turnovers. Obviously, you know, their defense, you know, Coach Landez does a fantastic job over there. I've worked with Coach Landez for many years over there at Rowe. You know, and John Campbell, you know, we were there for 6 years, had some great times there at Edinburgh Vela. So we expect absolutely nothing but their best. You know, it's a perennial, like we said, a perennial team that does it every year in and year out.
You got to the high level of football, the highest level of the NFL. Obviously, it's always a dream for kids around here to do that. They have a player out there at Vela that's done some crazy stuff on defense this year. Hoover, I mean, I think it's 9 picks. Just from your perspective, how crazy is that for a high school kid to be able to produce like that, and it's not even basically halfway through the season?
Well, I think it's a testament to preparation. You know, like I said, they do a great job of preparing the kiddos to play on Friday nights. And, you know, I've obviously watched a ton of film this week, and I've seen Mr. Hoover does a great job. And, you know, I like to see Valley kids get to the next level. That really, it makes me feel good when we see our kids get, you know, signings where they get full scholarships where they don't have to pay a dime for school. And hopefully he's one of those kiddos that, you know, over the course of the couple of years to come, he can earn himself a scholarship. That'd be great for him in that community.
As you look at district campaign for you guys, we mentioned a 3-0 start, a strong start for you guys. Did you kind of envision this, or is it kind of coming by surprise to the community? Because obviously we talked about you got Vela, you haven't faced Memorial yet, but some of these stronger schools we know of them. But Rowe's kind of coming up there, and like everybody's looking like, wow, Rowe's 3-0 to start off. You played those Fresno's tough. You lost to Mercedes, but again, like you mentioned, they're a strong team. So it seems like everybody in the Valley is starting to notice Rowe on the come up here.
Yeah, we've been in some games where we could have won those games, and it just comes down to those little bitty things, and that's what when you talk about changing a culture, we don't want to lose, but in those losses, we get to see, okay, this is why we lost, and here's what we can do to get better. And in my talks with those coaches, in a post game, they all say the same thing. God, your guys work hard, they hit, they're aggressive, and those are the things you want to hear, from your peers. That your kids and your coaching staff was working hard, and the kids are the beneficiary of that. The community is the beneficiary of us playing at that level.
Your first year as a head coach here in the Valley. You've been an assistant coach for some time now. What's this journey been like for you as far as this first year of you being the main guy at a school here in the Valley?
Oh, it's been awesome. Every year you see a couple of places open up, and you kind of think, should I put my name in the hat? And this one for me, it just made sense. It was the one job opening that I was going to put, all my effort into trying to get. And with God's grace and a great interview, I'm here. And some days I walk out there, and it's really fulfilling to know that all the hard work that we've put in, and with a lot of my career is spent at Vela, and I learned a lot under John Campbell. So I bring a little bit of that, over here. It's been a blessing. And the kids here, the community here, they've embraced me. And I can't say enough about our administration, our upper administration, and then also the administration we have here at McAllen Rowe High School.
You're a former standout player. Now you're a coach that's on the right track. But your journey in life starts outside of the continental U.S. It starts in Germany. You were born out there. Your father has some Valley roots. Can you talk to us about how a little bit about your athletic background and how it is that you came back to the Valley and became a star player at Mission High School?
Well, I'm a product of an athlete who came down to UTRGV, which was University of Texas Pan American back in the day, and my dad played center and forward there for 2 years. From JUCO, came down here, met my mom. My mom is from La Jolla, Texas, and met her, and then here we are. He tried out for the Spurs, and he almost made the cut. So typically back then, what they would do is they would go on to the European ball. So that's why our family was in Germany, and I was born in Germany, spent about 2 years there, and then we moved back to La Jolla. My dad was a coach, so that's where the competitive nature it comes from my dad, and my uncles. My uncles played at Texas Tech, so the family has always had athletes. In our family, we have a couple of NBA players. My son plays at UT right now. My youngest son is number 44 at University of Texas. So we've got a lot of athletes in our family, and we're competitors. We love to compete. I don't care if we're playing checkers, we're playing Xbox. We are competitors.
Now, your son, did he go to high school here in the Valley, or?
No, my son was raised in the DFW.
Okay.
He's about 5'11", and he looks in the mirror and he sees a 6'5" guy. He's a lion. You know what I mean? He looks like a cub, but he's a lion, and he always finds a way. And that's what I love about sports. That's the one thing I want for all my athletes that come through my program that I coach is like life skills. Can you take this with you in life? Sure you can.
And you're here. He's up there at UT. Is it tough for you to watch games? Obviously, you got a lot going on here.
Well, he's got basketball, so the seasons will they'll be good. So I'll be able to get up to Austin. I'm an Aggie, so it's just weird for me right now. My son is a Longhorn now, but it's a great opportunity for him. He wants to be a coach. He wants to follow my footsteps and be a coach. So I'm rooting for him. I want him to stay at the collegiate ranks because there's big NIL money there. So if he can become a coach at the next level, that would make me really, really proud.
Now, your father played basketball professionally, and your son's a hooper, but you chose football. How did the pigskin call your name back in the day?
I was a hooper. Sophomore year at Mission High School, I was nowhere to be found the first day of football practice. I was working on my jump shot, and I had some friends come by and tell me, "Hey, man, you could help us here on the football field." And I was like, "No, I'm going to concentrate on basketball." I had played the year prior, and luckily, overnight, I thought about it, and I just showed up in the morning. It was, I think, 2 days in, and the rest is history. I got in there with Coach Detmer, learned, quality football at an early age and learn how to be cerebral, not just out there surviving, but thriving and knowing like where the opponents were going to be. Didn't take a lot of hits in my career. I've never had a concussion in the football game. And I attribute that to really, really good coaches. Coach Detmer, Coach Urban Meyer was my first year coach at Notre Dame. Tom Coughlin in the NFL, obviously R.C. Slocum. I could go on and on about all the coaches I've had, but they teach you football, fundamental football. And when you know fundamental football, you can play fast and you can play safe.
So you started out Notre Dame and came back to A&M?
Yes.
What was that like? Obviously, not many Valley guys make it to that type of level, but you got to go to two big schools. And just what was that experience like for you to play collegiately at two of the bigger schools in the country?
No, the whole process was awesome. My mom made tacos for head coaches, for Bob Davie, the head coach at Notre Dame at the time, for R.C. Slocum. Urban Meyer was a receiver coach at the time. He hadn't yet gotten to Florida and Ohio State, obviously. But that whole process was awesome. I took trips to Colorado, took trips to A&M, to South Bend, Indiana for Notre Dame, and I was supposed to go to Miami and Florida. So it was a pretty interesting life. I was on the phone a lot as a high school kid. So as a high school kid, I get out of practice and my phone would just ring and I would just talk to multiple coaches till about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And that's just how it went. I do my homework after that. So that entire process was pretty intense, but it was a really, really cool process to go through. My younger brother got to go through that process after me. And I kind of set the path for him. He ended up playing at Texas A&M as well, 4-year starter there at Texas A&M from Mission High School as well.
Great stuff. Not many guys get to live that, so it's pretty cool to hear this type of story. Coach, we'll be right back here at the End Zone. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to the End Zone. We are joined this week by the head coach at Rowe, Jamaar Taylor. Coach Taylor's football team, Rowe, 4-2 this season, 3-0 in district play. They got a big game this week against Avella. Both teams undefeated in district play. Before he became a head coach, Coach Taylor was a big-time football player here in the Valley, a star player at Mission High in the late 1990s. Before the break, we were talking about some of your background in sports. You come from a very athletic family. And your journey in football, as far as high school to college, you met a lot of great coaches that went on to become big names in college football. And you eventually chose A&M, but you had a lot of guys coming down to check you out here in the Valley, correct?
Yes, a lot of schools. And obviously mom had to chime in on the schools that she likes, the coaches that she likes. And we all as a family watched the movie Rudy, and I think that was the end-all be-all. And I wanted to be a Golden Domer. I wanted to go out to Notre Dame. The academics there were, second to none. And then the football tradition. I'm a big football tradition guy. I love tradition. So I went there. Didn't work out for me offensively. It was it wasn't like today's day where you could just transfer from school to school. It was a really tough decision that we made as a family. And I wanted to be closer to home, closer to Texas, obviously. And Texas A&M was second, in line, and they offered me a scholarship there, and thank God they did. R.C. Slocum, I owe him a whole lot. He's a great coach, and gave me an opportunity to come down to Texas and play ball.
So this is before the current era, so you actually had to sit out a whole year before you even touched the field as far as an actual game, then, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you had to sit out an entire year. You run the scout team. It's like I tell my players, sometimes you get that look, and it's like, guys, the scout team, everybody's done the scout team. Every one of your coaches, anybody who's played football has played on the scout team. So I spent an entire year playing on the scout team, but it definitely helped me because I played against the ones every single day. And then the next year, I got the starting position, and I never looked back.
What was that like, getting to A&M and then, waiting for your chance and taking off and getting your visibility out there and eventually getting a shot in the NFL through the draft?
I think, I was very tactical as a kid. Like I said, I come from a family of competitors. I mean, we're sick competitors. You talk about Kobe. Whenever I watch Kobe stories, and I can sit there and watch those all day, the Mamba mentality, just, me and my dad played basketball in the backyard. If he won, he's 6'5", he's going to win. I'm 10 years old, but I wouldn't talk to him for 2 days because I expected to win. I'd be upset. That part of me, is in everything I do, so as a coach, as a player, it's almost innate, to be a competitor.
Looking back at your history as a football player, is there one moment that sticks out, whether it be on the high school, collegiate, or pro level, as one of your favorite moments ever as a football player?
Walking out onto Kyle Field for the first time, as a starter. Um, as a competitor, we were just talking right now about competition and being tactical. I saw Duncanvilles and I saw the DeSotos of the world and the Westlakes of the world, and they were, my teammates, and they were all vying to be the number one receiver. And that's where that competition started. And I started, maybe in the fourth guy, and then I would just in the summer I would get, better at my 40-yard dash, or a little bit stronger, and then I was inching past each guy. And then before you knew it, I got to the top. And then that moment comes where you walk out into Kyle Field, and Kyle Field is just madness. And it was like, wow, like I'm here, like I'm in this moment. I've worked hard for it, and I'd always think about my Valley people. My Valley people be watching me, and what a cool thing to do, just to start at Texas A&M as a Valley athlete.
And then you got a shot in the NFL with the Giants, right? Correct. That was the team that drafted
Giants.
you.
Yeah, New York Giants drafted in the 6th round. I was in the weight room when they called me. I was a little upset. I had a second round projection. Tore my knee up, I think the 5th or 6th game of that season against Nebraska. And so, man, I was bummed out. When you get injured, especially at a critical time right before the draft, and you're sitting on a second round draft grade, when you're talking about a $1.5 million signing bonus. Now they're bigger now, but and then I dropped down to the 6th round. Very tough day, but I was very, very glad to be drafted by the New York Giants.
So you make it to the NFL, but eventually you switch focus and you start thinking about football as far as a coach. Was that something that was in the back of your head from your playing days as a high schooler, that one day I want to be a coach, or how did that come about for you as far as entering the coaching profession?
No, I mean, I was pretty undecided. You know how they sit there and they map out your future, and you sit there, what am I going to be, graduating with, and this, that, the other. I was so iffy on stuff. I wanted to do so many things. I wanted to get into media like you. I wanted to, be involved in training athletes. I wanted to be involved in the nutritional aspect of athletes. So at the end, I kind of fell into it. And thank God I did. And it keeps me going because I got to be I got to do things that are competitive, and this brings it. You get to build young gentlemen. You get to build your staff. And right now, the cool thing about building this program, we're coming off a 4-win and a 3-win season. We're building this program, and it's from the ground up. We're talking, our meeting rooms, and like you said, the logos, all these type of things we're building. And I've always wanted to be a builder of some sorts, and it just fell into coaching.
What's been the toughest part as far as being the main guy now? Obviously, when you're an assistant, there's a guy that kind of leads the show and you kind of fall in, but now you're the main guy. You got to call the shots from top to bottom. What's the hardest thing about being the main guy?
The hardest thing is trying to allow your coaches to grow, and it's not hard, but it's different because I'm so used to having the bigger role. You know what I mean? But I got to let my offensive coordinator be an offensive coordinator. I got to let my defensive coordinator be a defensive coordinator. My job is to facilitate an environment and then have the kids all unidirectionally focused and the culture focused on where we're going and who we are as a team. That's the toughest part, but I'm still very, very hands-on, with the offense. So with the offense, I'm in there daily in the meetings. I'm in every single meeting. Involved in the process of the X's and O's and strategy and things like that. So I'll never be a guy who just sits back and facilitates. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to be involved in the game plan process.
Coach, we're talking Rowe football here on the End Zone. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the End Zone. We are joined this week by the head coach, the first-year head coach at Rowe High School, Coach Jamaar Taylor. His Rowe football team taking on Vela this week in a crucial, big-time district matchup on Friday night. Both teams undefeated in district play. Coach, we've been talking about your days as a player, now as a coach. You've done both. So far as a head coach, you've had good results so far. As a player, you got to the very top of the game. What's it like as far as your mindset? Is it more nerves on game day as a player or as a coach, as a main coach?
There's no nerves. There's none. I've been very lucky. Like I talked to you guys about my first game at Cal Field. I fully expected to be nervous, and I just wasn't. And that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't get nervous at all. We prepare, And at the end of the day, once I get to game day, I'm really not like the coach that gets too nutty out. I don't get too crazy out there because I think we prepared. And at that point, all of the stuff that you missed, it's going to come out. So it's like they say, the hay's in the barn. At that point, I'm a fan. When I talk to the refs before the game, I talk to them and I say, I want to see some good football today because I'm a fan before I'm a coach. And I love to see even the other team when they get to scrapping. I love it. I love football. I love watching it. I love being around it.
All right. So never nervous over here. That's unusual. Most people, I mean, me playing Little League soccer, I was ready to go. Most guys are sweating palms and stuff, but you're saying it's the opposite. If you're prepared, you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we talk about with our group is life skills. You're going to take this into life. You go to the interview process that, when I did my interview here with McAllen ISD, you walk in the room, there's 12 people in the room and it was like, oh, this is game day. This is awesome. I didn't get nervous at all. And that's a reflection of all the good coaches, all the good preparation that I've had over the years, to go in there, you're fully prepared and you just go and you just enjoy the show, and you want to win every single game you're in. But when you give it your all, you can walk off the field proud, win or lose, with your efforts.
Coach, we got a couple minutes left. Real quickly before we go, just to recap here, a big game on Friday against Vela, a school that you were an assistant coach at. Both teams 3-0. For you guys, what's going to be the main focus as far as coming out with a victory on Friday night against this mighty Vela SaberCat football team?
I won't give you our 5. We have 5 points. I can't give you the 5 points and give it all away. But I will say that, we want to play clean football. The communities both in Edinburgh and McAllen love their football. And at the end of the day, we want to give both communities, a quality football experience. And that's what the Valley and Texas high school football is all about. Clean football. We're going to play some clean football, keep it classy, and, try to score more touchdowns than the other team. That's always the focus and goal. And it's going to be a great night for Valley high school football.
Indeed. Both teams undefeated in district play. Rowe has tremendous year so far. Tight games against Los Fresnos and Mercedes and undefeated in district. Coach Jamaar Taylor and his boys with a big matchup on Friday night against Vela. Should be a great one. And real quickly before we got 40 seconds, your A&M squad this year, they're doing well. Just how cool is that for you to see that they're on the way up?
I love it. I love everything that Mike Elko does. He's a no-nonsense guy, not a lot of fluff, just like me. I don't do a whole lot of fluff. It's just football. I leave here, it's football. I go home, I can't shut it down. That's who Mike Elko is. We're 6-0 because of that mentality.
So they're 6-0 overall. You guys are undefeated in district play. Big matchup this week. Our CBS 4 Game of the Week, Rowe against Vela on Friday night. Coach, thanks a lot for joining us, and we wish you good luck on Friday night against the Vela SaberCats.
Thank you guys so much.
And that'll do it for the End Zone. We'll see you once again next week. Have a good day.